Hey guys, it's Axel, and I am finally back in my house after the fire. I'm still working on getting the office and everything put back together, but I took some time to create this tutorial which focuses on masking in HitFilm 8. Masking has been greatly improved in version 8 of the software, so you have more control than ever. And masking is exactly the same in both HitFilm Pro and HitFilm Express, so this tutorial works for everybody. There are three primary tools for creating masks. The rectangular mask tool creates square or rectangular masks. The ellipse mask tool creates round or elliptical masks. And the freehand mask tool creates masks of any other possible shape you can imagine. To add a geometric mask, just select the tool you want to use and drag on the viewer to create the shape. If you get a white Ghostbuster symbol without the ghost, also called the universal no, it will be because you don't have a layer selected on the timeline. So you need to select the layer you want to apply the mask to, then proceed with dragging on the viewer to add the shape. Hold Shift while dragging to get a perfect circle or square. To add a freehand shape, select the layer, select the tool, then begin drawing your shape on the viewer. Each time you click anywhere to add a new point, it will be connected to the previous point by a straight line. You can also create a curved line segment by clicking and dragging out a control handle while keeping your finger on the mouse button. If you position the cursor over an existing point, you can reposition it. And if you need to add a new point, click the line between two existing points where you want to add it. If the segment you add the point to is curved, the new point will be curved as well. Once the shape is completed, click the first point again to close it and activate the mask. The area inside the mask is retained, and everything outside the mask is removed. Any mask can be inverted, though, by clicking the invert icon next to the mask on the timeline. In the controls, there is also an invert property, which is directly linked to that button, so you can also invert from the controls, but the button is conveniently visible even when the controls are closed. The shape controls let you further adjust the mask. Expansion shifts the edges of the mask in or out to fine-tune its shape. The feather menu controls what direction the edge feather is applied in. The default is both, so the feather is centered on the edge and fades out in both directions. But you can select in or out to feather the edge in one direction, which can be handy for controlling exactly where the feather stops. For example, if you wanted to feather the edges of a layer, you can drag a mask to define where you want the edge to stop, then set the feather to in. So all the feathering is inside and nothing at all will appear outside your defined edge. Feather strength sets the width in pixels of the edge feather. Roundness smooths any sharp corners in the mask shape by the radius you select. Okay, now that you've created your mask, let's look at how to edit them. There are two distinct ways to edit a mask shape. These will come into play if you need to adjust the mask path to fine-tune its shape, or when you are animating the shape of a mask to change over time. The first method is using the Selection tool, and the second is using the Freehand Shape tool. The Selection tool is used to adjust the mask as a whole, like you would a layer. You can change the position, scale, or rotation of the mask in the Controls panel or using the Viewer controls. Click anywhere in the mask and drag to reposition it. Drag any corner to scale the mask from the center. By default, the mask will scale uniformly, but you can hold Shift while you drag to unlink the height and width and allow freeform scaling. Hold Control or Command if you're on a Mac to uniformly scale from the opposite corner rather than from the center, or combine them holding Shift and Control to freeform scale from the opposite corner. And if you need to rotate the mask, hold Alt and drag any corner. All of these adjustments can be keyframed in the Controls panel in the usual fashion. You can see our tutorial on keyframing if you need more info on how to use that feature. Sometimes you will need to adjust the actual shape of the mask itself using individual control points. For this, you will want to use the Freehand Shape tool. With the Freehand Shape tool, you can click individual points to select them, shift-click multiple points to select them, or double-click any point to select all the points in the entire mask. On closed masks, you can also drag a marquee around specific points to select them. When multiple points are selected, you get a bounding box around them. And especially when all points are selected, this looks very similar to the bounding box used by the selection tool. But they are fundamentally different. Where the selection tool adjusts the entire mask as a single object, the Freehand mask tool alters each selected point individually. When a single point is selected, you can drag the point to reposition it. If keyframing is enabled for the path property, then you can animate the point's position. The path property stores the keyframe data for the entire path, including every point that makes up your mask. If you right-click a point, you get a menu where you can convert it to linear, which is the default option and creates a corner at the point, locked curved, which creates a smooth curve through the point, or unlocked curved, which gives you a corner with curved segments on either side. When working with curved points, the Bezier control handles are dashed lines, so you can easily distinguish them from the mask path. The right-click menu also has options to select all points, invert your selection, remove the selected points, or reset the point to its original location. With 2 or more points selected, you can use the bounding box to translate, scale, or rotate them. The controls are similar to the controls when using the selection tool, though again, any changes made using the Freehand shape tool will alter the individual point data rather than the mask as a whole. When the path is animated, each point will always follow a linear path from one keyframe position to the next. You can rotate, scale, or drag the points to new locations. HitFilm doesn't care how they got there. It just looks at the actual point position in this keyframe and the position in the next keyframe and linearly moves the point from one to the next. So especially if you want to animate rotation, make sure you use the selection tool controls to do so. Also, when you animate the path, you can't control the interpolation method used. It's always linear. But by keyframing position, rotation, or scale using the selection tool, you do have full control over the interpolation used. Drag any corner of the bounding box to scale uniformly from the center. Hold Shift for freeform scaling to adjust the height and width independently. Use Control as a modifier to scale the selection from the corner opposite the one you are dragging. Combine Shift and Control to freeform scale from the opposite corner. Hold Alt and drag any corner to rotate the selected points around the center of the bounding box. You may have noticed one other control in the transform properties of masks, the extra transform control, which has no value nor any way to edit its setting. And that's because it's extra. If you get to work and realize you left your regular transform control in your other genes, you can use this one. Actually, the extra transform is a special property used by Mocha HitFilm when you import animated masks from Mocha. It is not necessary for general mask use, which is why you can't edit it directly. But what you can do is ignore it. This is not the transform control you're looking for. You may go about your business. Move along. The last bit of control for masks is the blend menu, which mainly comes into play when you have multiple masks on a single layer. If you only have one mask, then add is all you need. But let's use some situations involving multiple overlapping masks to look at these other options. Add does what it says on the tin. It adds the new mask to the previous mask, so the area of both masks is visible. The opposite is subtract, which removes the current mask from the previous mask area. Intersect shows only the area where the two masks intersect or overlap. And replace, not surprisingly, replaces the old mask area with the new mask area. And that leaves us with lighten and darken, the least intuitive of the options in this menu. For these options, you need multiple masks with adjusted opacity. If you only have one mask, or if you have several overlapping masks, but they are all completely opaque, then just ignore these options. You won't need them. Darken is very similar to intersect, but while intersect adds the opacity values where masks overlap, darken compares the opacity value for each mask in overlapping areas and uses the highest value for that area. Lighten is similar to add, but while add again combines opacity values in areas where the masks overlap, lighten uses the lowest opacity value in overlapping areas. So, using these controls, you can create and animate masks in any shape you need to control what part of your layer is visible and to effectively combine multiple layers within your composites. Hopefully this information is useful to all of our new users, and even our long-time users will likely benefit from this overview of the improvements to masks that are available in HitFilm version 8. Thank you very much for watching and for subscribing. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to make sure you're notified of all of our new tutorials as soon as they're posted each week.